Mentaliptus. Lorna.
You're on.
Hi, welcome to Tea Time with Lorna. Today's guest is someone I met fairly recently, well, maybe about 2 years ago. His name is Steve Bustamante, and he is a videographer. He is an artist. He plays the guitar, and he sings, and he loves to travel. So we're going to be chatting with him and having tea today. So welcome to Tea Time with Lorna. So, Steve, welcome.
Thank you.
So, tell me, how did you get into, how'd you start playing instruments? What's your first instrument you learned?
Well, the voice, because
Okay.
that is an instrument. We are instruments, actually, and we use our voice, and our voice is part of that instrument. It's the outcome of what we're doing when we sing.
Okay.
But the guitar was my next love. And I had a couple of uncles and my grandfather and my father who all played guitar. They played my dad also played harmonica.
Okay.
I never got into that, but the guitar, was definitely
Do you play
my
anything
go-to
else?
instrument.
Do you play any other instruments?
Just playing around on the keyboard, not too much of, I haven't spent too much time on learning the keyboard, but the guitar, me, the guitar, and YouTube have been friends.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
great. That's great. And what do you find is maybe challenging about playing the guitar? Are there any challenges?
Well, when you first start playing the guitar, your fingers get tender because you have to push the strings down, with a certain amount of pressure, and when you slide your fingers as they're holding on to the strings, which I use steel strings. Some people use nylon strings, but the steel strings cut a little bit more. You can see there are little indentations on my fingers. So there's that. And sometimes my nails break because I don't use a pick, and I'm often breaking the same nail. So that's definitely another painful part of it. And some of the chords, you have a chord hand, the way you position your hand is different depending on the chords that you're using. And I said to a minister once that, he said, "So how's the guitar playing going?" And I said, "Oh, it's great except for the F and B." Meaning the F chord and the B chord, because those are both bar chords, and bar chords are somewhat of a challenge for beginners. And that just means that you have to use your one finger to go across all of the strings on the guitar, and that can be a challenge. But it's good once you get it, and once you're able to play on a regular basis without muting the strings, without making the strings not ring out, so that they're not actually playing. Once you start getting better at that. Well, actually, I'm still working toward that in a lot of ways.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So what tea are you drinking today?
Earl Grey, thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. One of the things I like to do with my guests is I do like to ask them what kind of tea they like, because it is Tea Time with Lorna, and to try to indulge them in their tea. Now, why do you like Earl Grey? What's so special about Earl Grey for you?
I just enjoy the taste and the smell, and it just has this very distinct taste that I really enjoy. And I shared it once. I work at a university, and I shared the tea with a student once. And he sort of spit it out, and he goes, "I'm not going to lie, that's disgusting."
Oh, well,
Each to their own, right?
Exactly, exactly.
But I didn't anticipate that, but I know it has its unique taste, and I really enjoy it. So.
Well, today I'm drinking a lemon zinger because I've got a bit of a cold. So old wives tell, drink lemon, drink ginger. Those things are really good for you when you have a cold or a cough. So I chose the lemon zinger today, which I really love. It's not necessarily my favorite, but I really, really like it. So that's what I'm drinking today, a good lemon zinger.
Yeah.
So that's really nice. So tell me a little bit about the stuff you do at the open mic that I go to, that I have seen you at, which is where we met.
Well, I've been sort of working up to, you kind of work up to the open mic as you do with anything, whether it's comedy or acting or singing. And so you work up to the open mic. And, what I do is I go to songwriting camps and prepare, by, getting a lot of instruction on how to write songs or just having the permission to actually sit down and write. And there's a lot of playing that goes on. There's a lot of performance in that environment as well. But it's sort of preparation, and so is an open mic to a certain extent. And yeah.
No, sorry,
yeah.
go on.
Oh, once you get to the open mic, it's usually the open mics that I've been to, whether in Connecticut or in New York City, have been very supportive and very open to anyone who wants to try things out. So it's the perfect place to experiment at the open mics as well. So
how long have you been going to the camps, the music camps?
Probably about 6 years off and on. I don't go every year. But yes, I went to my first songwriting camp in Kansas City. I go to the Unity Church, and they have headquarters in Kansas City, and they had a songwriting camp there, and then they had a positive music award ceremony there and concerts, and so that's when I really started started going to those camps. And while there, I met a couple of people who were connected with a camp in upstate New York, and started going to that camp. And that was, that's the one that I sort of go off and on usually every other year or so. Yeah.
That sounds really, really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Now tell me, have you managed to develop your songwriting skills into something, more permanent, or sold any of your stuff that you've written or anything like that?
I think I'm sort of on the cusp of doing that. I have a couple of songs out there that people are very excited about, and they're asking, they're sort of like pushing me out there saying, join one of the performance right organization.
Okay.
And in the States we have two primary, which are BMI and ASCAP. Okay. Which you may have heard about, especially when in relationship to copyrights. A lot of times they talk about these performance rights organizations. So that's your first step, is to sort of join one of those, so you're sort of legit, and then you can, then some of the main performers the major performers who are out there producing records might pick up one of your songs. My goal is to get some of my songs out to singers that are really top-notch singers, and I'd love to do that. And surprisingly, I was drawn to country music, which when I grew up was one of the two types of music that I would never have thought I would be listening to it, ever. And so it's sort of what I'm writing to now, and hoping, that people will pick it up.
Okay. Okay, that sounds really great.
Yeah.
That's really great. So, what else do you like to do in your spare time? You like to travel, you said? You mentioned traveling.
I do, yeah, I travel. I have relatives in the Philippines, and I've been there a couple of times. And this past Christmas I went, and it's just, obviously you have the family time, in addition to, traveling and doing everything that comes along with that, It's quite a long flight.
Yes, it is.
To get to,
what is it, 15 hours?
Somewhere around there, yeah.
Wow.
And then it's you can't fly directly there. We flew to I think Korea from. No, we went from JFK to Korea, and then from Korea to Manila.
Wow.
And then the first time I went, most of my family were in the provinces and small towns, about 3 hours bus ride from Manila.
Oh, wow.
And this past visit, we spent most of our time in Manila, which is where my family are there.
Oh,
my family is
very
there.
nice.
Yeah,
Well, isn't that exciting?
Yeah.
So where else do you like to go to? Where else do you travel to?
England.
Surprise, surprise.
I was in England for 2 years, actually.
Okay.
I was in the Air Force,
Okay.
and I was stationed at RAF Woodbridge Bentwaters, which is in Ipswich.
Okay.
It's Ipswich area.
I was
So.
just like, where is that?
Yeah. So,
Okay.
so enjoyed that, and made some really great friends. And
Okay.
I have a friend who I still keep in touch with. She was actually here not that long ago with her husband, and we did the whole tourist thing in New York with them. So.
So why'd you come back?
From England.
Why'd you leave?
Well, the Air Force was just the 4 years for me,
Okay.
and I knew I wasn't going to stay in. It just didn't feed me in that way, and I knew, I did the time that I was required to, and I was out. But and so many new things, and traveling has been great too for photography, which is, thanks. Well, one of the great things I enjoy doing. I enjoy taking photographs of people. And a lot of the scenery and things like the landscape and that sort of thing. And I'm sort of branching out into the entertainment world, so trying to sort of nest that in with my interest in songwriting as well. So looking at taking headshots of people and getting into that that part of the business.
Okay, so that's another passion?
It is. I actually have a small business, and
Okay.
where I video record in New York primarily, and I'm mostly doing cabaret shows, which
Okay.
again is a real plus. You get to see up close and personal what's going on with people when they're performing. What do you see in their eyes? What do you see? When they're hitting that moment where they're really into the song, and it's a really great way of sort of narrowing down what it is about a performance that you like. So, do you have a favorite style of music? So.
I have such an eclectic taste in music. I think growing up in England, we really had the BBC, which opened us up to everything. We had music classes in school and instrument classes. Excuse me, and we had a teacher that really expanded our mind with classical music, and I played many instruments myself. So that
What you play?
allowed me-
What instruments?
I started with I think my first instrument was the violin, then I went to the viola, then the recorder, then the double recorder, then the guitar, and then the piano, then steel drums, and the guitar, and then
Wow.
the drum kit. Yeah,
Yeah. Do you still do any of those?
the drum kit.
All right.
But still, because I can read music, it's easy for me to get back into all of them. And I also can play by ear, so I only have to hear a song once and I can play it. So it's relatively easy for me to get back.
That's great.
I was working with a woman with a young child who also could play by ear, and the first time I met with her mother was explaining to me how she can do this, and I said, I can do that too. And she was just so surprised. So literally she would name a song and then the two of us would just play it.
Great.
And she was just so surprised. And to me, I just had not even thought about it as something that other people couldn't do. So for me, I love music. So that's one of the things I like to
Nice.
do. Drums I want to get back to. I was taking lessons and then I stopped. I think I stopped in October. Just because I was too busy. But I want to get back to the drums because I really like them. So I think once you get into instruments, percussion, you just always have a passion.
You feel, it's obviously you feel when you're playing, you can feel all that vibration too.
Yeah.
It's great. And I remember the steel drums. I actually saw a documentary not that long ago about the making of steel drums, and it's just the skill and just the detail that they have to pay attention to in order to tune it exactly right. It's just amazing to me. And I had steel drums in my past when I was when I was a kid at Ocean Beach in New London. they had someone there usually playing steel drums, and it was between that and powwows and a lot of Native American music, and they would have actually Native American dances with drums right there at Ocean Beach as well.
And that's in Connecticut?
That's in Connecticut, in New London, Connecticut.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like fun.
Yeah, and they have the casinos down there, which have always been, not the casinos, the reservations, then the casinos after that. The casinos haven't always been there, obviously, but it's a big draw for a lot of tribes from all over the country and all over the world, actually. Go there for different competitions. It definitely has its good points and its bad points. I remember when I was younger, a powwow, it was in Montville, Connecticut,
Okay.
and there'd be a hilly area, and it's just all dirt, and there's some grass, but it's all beaten down from the dancing, and they would stay there all night with the drums, and it was much less, much more casual, much more authentic, I felt. And what they do at the casino is also authentic, but I think that some of what they do is in arenas, and it's, you lose that sort of feel of a traditional powwow. But,
Well, I've got to add that to the list of things I'm interested in doing now, or at least seeing, because that sounds like that would be quite incredible.
Yeah.
All of our views are slanted by what we may have seen on TV. So, unfortunately, that's what I know, or whatever I've seen on TV. So,
Right.
I'm pretty certain that would be quite exciting to see in person. So, I probably have to add that to my list of things to do. At some point, because that sounds really good. I've been to Mohegan Sun a couple of times and had a nice time while I was there. I'm not really a gambler, but the casinos are beautiful. The architecture is gorgeous, so I can appreciate it. And I think I went to one concert there, and that was really good. So I had a great time. So
yeah, you can't beat the level of entertainment there.
Yeah.
I saw Al Jarreau
Okay.
there, and he was amazing, first of all, and I was there 3 hours early, and I was sort of hanging out outside of the venue, and there was an older woman there, and I sat down with her, started chatting with her, and she could tell I was very excited. I hadn't seen Al Jarreau before in concert, and so I said, "Have you ever seen Al Jarreau before?" And she leans back, she goes, "Child, he's like my second son." He's like, "My girlfriend's coming, we have backstage passes, and now I know that you're here with your girl, and if I can only get one of you back there, I'm not going to get any of you back there, but if I have it by chance, get a second ticket, then you both can come with us." And she did. She had 2 tickets, and we went back there, and Al Jarreau was, I told him how much his music meant to me, and he put his arm around my shoulder, and I said, "It's Al Jarreau."
that's really
It just
nice.
was a special moment for me. So there's definitely, there are things that happen in those, at those casinos that,
Well,
obviously
I
you
know-
wouldn't have an opportunity to see. Yeah.
When I went, I took my sister and we went to see LL Cool J.
Oh, right.
I actually took her for her birthday, and we were actually able to meet with him also after the concert. They had a meet and greet afterwards, and we were able to go and meet with him and take some pictures,
Cool.
and he signed
That's
some
great.
autographs. So that was really nice. I know how special your experience was meeting Al Jarreau,
Yeah.
because I know how special it was more for my sister, because she's really a huge fan of meeting LL Cool J.
Yeah.
Ladies love James. So
When I'm alone in my room, sometimes I stare at the wall. I need love.
yeah, that's not my favorite. I still like Mama's Gonna Knock You Out.
Oh, yeah.
And
yeah.
Round the World,
Right,
Round
right.
the Way Girl. They're still the top of my list.
There we
I'll
go.
never forget trying to remember all the words, to learn the words. I just needed to learn the words. I don't know why. I sat for hours just trying to learn the words.
On the subject of songs and the way songs are written, one of the things that I really like to do is look at the components of songs, and I do teach from time to time at the University of Connecticut. I teach older students, and it's a special program for students who are after retirement age, and so one of the things I bring up to them is this idea of what's called the bridge. Are you familiar with the bridge of a song?
So, yes, I am.
Yeah. So you have it's the what do they call it? The eights, right? The in England they call it something different. I forget what it is, but there's a different term for it. But basically, the bridge brings you in a different direction. So you have your verses, which is basically the storyline, and the chorus, which is what everybody knows, what's recognizable to everybody. And the bridge is what takes you slightly away from what you've been talking about in a new direction, and gives new meaning to that last verse. And so I use this example of a country song by the band Sugarland, and the song is called Stay. Okay. And it's the perfect example of that, because the beginning of the song is about how she wants to be with this guy so bad, and every time you get to the chorus, it's why don't you stay, down on my knees, so tired of being lonely, don't I give you what you need, you don't have to, we don't have to live this way, why don't you stay, kind of thing. And then the bridge comes up, which is, I can't take it any longer, my will is getting stronger, and I've given everything to you. And then she can't take it anymore, and then she's like, you're with her, why don't you stay? So it's sort of like twist. So it's one of my favorite examples of a song that has a twist like that makes you just think differently, and you get that moment where you're like, oh, I get it.
But what about the thing now that all music seems to have, the earworm? What about those?
Oh, yeah.
Those are driving me insane.
Right. Sometimes they can, right, exactly. These can be a little obnoxious, and they usually are not. Sometimes people think of them, most of the time they're in a negative way. Which earworm comes to mind?
Oh, there's so many. It's getting hot in here. That's one.
Right.
I mean, there's so many.
It's like get it out of my head kind of thing.
Or any of Taylor Swift's. I can't even think of any right now. But there's I'm Trouble that one about trouble.
Oh,
trouble,
right.
Trouble.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, you just know it. You hear it once, and it's with you for the whole day. You just can't shake it. Even that one, that song of hers, "Shake It Off, Baby," or whatever that's called.
Right.
It just stays with you, and you're like, this is driving me crazy.
And
even on songs that you thought you didn't like.
Right.
When you get that little earworm
and sometimes you find yourself singing them. It's like, whoops. I hate that song, and I'm singing it. Yeah. But they're definitely songs like that for me.
On the list of songs that you find obnoxious, because I already have 3. What 3 songs are you like? If they retired that song and never played it again, I would be the happiest person on earth. Name those 3.
Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer.
Oh, I like that one.
I hate that song.
Oh, they only play it once a year. I mean, at Christmas. Once.
Yeah.
I love that song. Have you seen the movie?
Have I seen it? No,
I
didn't see it. I didn't see them.
It's a movie.
No, I didn't know that.
Yes, it's a movie. You've got to see the movie. And then before we dismiss the song. Okay, what's the other one?
Oh,
give me another
one. I should have to say that I used to be more critical about music, and I'm less now, because I find some value in most of the things that I listen to.
But what's 2 more songs that you really could?
I'll have to give that a thought.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you mine.
Go for it.
I like them, but they can be retired. I like them, but it's time to go.
Okay.
Living La Vida Loca. I'm so done. I'm done, even though I haven't heard it for a while. I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear the Macarena. I don't want to hear the Macarena. I don't want to do the Macarena. And I no longer want to be happy. I'm so unhappy. I'm not. I just don't want to hear it anymore. Don't tell me to be happy. Just leave me alone. Those 3.
They can go.
They can be retired. Oh, they were everywhere for so long. It just was like, it was like never ending. It was like torture, like.
And I hear them sometimes out there when I'm doing my video recording. Happy mostly. I've heard a couple of people still doing Happy out there in the cabaret world. So,
See, and they're catchy songs, but you know, like I think "Living La Vida Loca," I think in England that was like #1 on the charts for like 700 weeks, maybe not 700, but so long. It was just, I don't want to live the crazy life. I just want to live like a normal life. Could I live a normal life?
Yeah.
I don't want to live the crazy life. I don't want to do the Macarena anymore, and I don't want you to tell me to be happy. Can I be sad? Can I just get a moment of sadness, like 2 minutes?
So you got rid of Happy, but then you kept Ice Baby, right?
I just, well, I don't know
If you
that
had
I
to choose,
kept it.
if you had to choose,
I think that's an unfair question.
you
I
think?
think that's an unfair question. But I think I'd keep Ice Baby. I think I would keep it. But the Macarena has got to go. It's got to. There's more. There's others, but those ones. And there's another one by Pharrell. I can't even think of the Pharrell one. Ugh, I don't want to be happy. Just can I? Oh, the one that. A Little Bit of Susie.
Oh yeah.
Do you know that song?
Yeah.
I don't remember the rest, but the one that has 700 women's name in it. Yeah.
The Mambo number
Yes,
5. Yeah.
Mambo number 5. What happened to 4 and 3? So what happened to 2? Mambo number 1. Okay.
Yeah.
Were there less names in Mambo number 1? I don't know. But yeah, that's.
What's your favorite song?
My favorite song of all time. This is gonna surprise you. Put your cup down.
All right.
This is gonna really surprise you. Bohemian Rhapsody by
Oh.
Queen. You like that?
I do. Have you seen the
I adore that song.
Have you seen the video of the man from, I think he's from
The
Australia,
Philippines? Okay.
and he's wasted. He's like so drunk, and
He's-
what he did was he was singing Bohemian Rhapsody in the back of a cruiser, and they video recorded him. But because he was representing himself, they had to give him the video, so he uploaded it to YouTube, and then the police claimed copyright infringement.
Wait,
Is that
start
crazy?
again.
Yeah.
He was singing it in the back of
A cruiser.
a police cruiser,
Right,
having been
right.
arrested.
And they video recorded him using that as evidence that
Of
he was
his
public,
drunk.
right?
Okay.
And so because he was because that man was representing himself, the police had to hand over the video so that
Okay.
he could review the evidence, I guess.
Okay.
But he uploaded the video to YouTube,
Okay.
and so the police tried to claim copyright infringement because he had covered a song that was copyright protected. So they pulled it down, but then YouTube, the copyright holder said, we're okay with him leaving it. So they had to put it back up.
Wow. But why
And
would the police even care to do that?
Just because they
Or mean?
yeah, you know.
Oh, it's sad.
But it's sophisticated. There's sophisticated software out there now that can detect melodies that even when you're drunk, they'll know that you're singing somebody else's song.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay. Well, that sounds great. It's been really nice having you on the
Yeah,
show
likewise.
today.
It's been nice being here.
I really appreciate that. So
The
thanks
time's
for
up
coming.
already? Wow.
Um,
Time flies when you're drinking too.
Yeah, almost. I think so. I think so. So, thank you very much. So, thanks for tuning into the show today. I really appreciated you watching the show. I will see you all next week when we'll have another guest, a surprise guest. Not really sure which one because I have 2 guests. So, it will be a surprise to not just me, but also to you. So, thanks for tuning in to Tea Time with Lorna. Bye.